Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Before we get into the substance of today's very exciting news and what we're celebrating, I do want to say that EPA Regional Director Casey Sixkiller did guarantee us a victory this afternoon at Oregon State, so that's why we're wearing our purple. Right. In all seriousness, good morning. I am joined by Casey Sixkiller and General Manager Andrew Lee from Seattle Public Utilities and Ben Pearson from SWIFR to celebrate an extremely important investment that the federal government is making with us right here in Seattle, in our region, that supports everything we're trying to do in terms of our environment. It gets at the heart of sustainability. Our city, the city of Seattle's key priorities, as I think everyone that lives here and works here understands, clearly is reducing our carbon footprint. This week we worked with the county. We had a great celebration on stream health and some of the very positive findings that the county's working on with us and the state on actually cleaning and measuring the outcomes of our stream health, and we had some very favorable news. We also yesterday introduced our building emissions performance standards legislation to look at the emissions standards that our buildings are putting out in our city and coming up with some aggressive timelines and strategies, investments to reduce that as well. This fits right into what we're trying to do here in the city, and that's why I'm so excited about doing this here in the fastest growing city in the nation. We are in a constant state of development, which of course has a significant impact on our environment. We also passed, as you well know, I'm so proud of our voters to pass the housing levy. That's a $970 million investment in our housing strategies. And so this work we're doing here today looks at the cost of rapid development or development as a general outcome and says, what must we do to achieve sustainability? So I'm proud that as we grow and we demolish old infrastructure and build new infrastructure, we've been able to do it sustainably in partnerships like this. That's why this becomes so critical. So here in Seattle, we know that nearly 20% of construction waste comes from demolishing homes. When we demolish homes, we do in ways that allow us to put the wood of the old buildings to new uses. We make a significant impact on reducing our carbon footprint and our waste production. This couples very, very well with, will someone hold the phone for a minute? Just joking. This really couples very well in our tree canopy strategies as well. Now, one of our key responsibilities as residents and businesses is to steward our land and our environment, and this is why our administration, departments like SPU, headed by Andrew Lee, are very intentional about making sure that as we grow as a city, our policies and practices protect our environment and our natural resources. This announcement today, given by EPA Regional Director Casey Sixkiller, and many of you know his incredible background in environmental sustainability and his leadership, that you'll hear from him in just a moment. This describes our critical investment together that we will advance the great work we're already doing to manage and reduce our solid waste production. And with that, I welcome EPA Regional Director Casey Sixkiller to talk more about this investment and the work we're all doing together. Casey.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. Mayor Harrell, thank you for making time in your busy schedule to be here today. This is a really exciting day. It's a cold day, but it's a really exciting day, and it's what an honor for me to be here on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration to lift up the work that's happening here locally. And I think it's really kind of just a new chapter, another chapter in Seattle's long history of being a leader across the nation in recycling, and now, as the mayor just said, in reuse. I was in Alaska earlier this week. We have spent all week celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. This law, passed 2 years ago, created the program that's giving this $4 million grant today. And all across America, we are seeing local leaders and communities coming together to think of innovative ways to expand recycling opportunities. And that's important for a number of reasons. Number one is it's the right thing to do. Secondly, it creates jobs and economic development. It reduces our greenhouse gas emissions, and it creates new opportunities to reuse products. And what better way to do that here in the Pacific Northwest than repurposing old growth timber? Old growth timber that has put a roof over people's heads for generations. and now is going to continue to do that through this effort here for many more families across the city as it continues to grow. This is just a really exciting opportunity, I think, for the city, and it shows the power of partnerships. $4 million helps too, but really it's the power of partnerships and local leadership, and again, as the mayor said, where we have innovative businesses doing something cool, we have local government making decisions about creating a policy and regulatory space for these opportunities to thrive, and of course, for the builders who are embracing an opportunity to do something different. Every time we deconstruct a building rather than demolish it, we're saving a tree. And that, I think, is really what we're celebrating today, an opportunity for us to be smarter and to realize that there is no one simple solution to tackling climate change, but this certainly now is a very powerful tool in the toolbox here locally in Seattle. So congratulations, Mayor and the city. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Andrew Lee.
Thank you so much, Casey. We so appreciate the partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency on this grant to help us ramp up waste diversion work. I want to start off with a quick story. We have a transfer station, 2 transfer stations in the north and the south of Seattle, and in both of those transfer stations, we actually have viewing rooms where kids can go and they can see the garbage being moved around. And I remember being in one of those rooms and hearing a little boy who was looking at the machinery moving around and the waste, and he made a comment. He said, "Mom, some of that stuff doesn't look like waste." And I thought that was profound because that child was exactly right. Every year, like we said, about 17% of our total debris in the city is construction debris. And that profound statement of that's not waste is completely true. Through this grant, we have the opportunity to divert wood for reuse. And I'm going to say a word out here, which is this idea of a circular economy, which is this concept that the life cycle of our goods and our materials can be continuously used if we plan for that, if we purpose it that way. We are one of a handful of cities leading the country in deconstruction and building out a local wood reuse economy, a circular economy. We currently offer financial incentives to customers who choose deconstruction, but this funding that we're receiving from EPA means we can do so much more. Specifically, it allows us to support the establishment of a permanent salvaged wood warehouse in Seattle to bolster, like Casey mentioned, a local climate emissions reducing businesses that don't historically see high profits. And not only will these businesses be able to better recover materials and prevent waste, but they'll be better positioned to also create job opportunities for people in our community who may not have had access to those jobs in the past. So I'm so thankful for this grant. Thank you again for the partnership from the federal government. And at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Ben Pearson, who is the operations manager for SWIFR Seattle. Really a trailblazer in this work, a demolition contractor who we've partnered with to do this incredibly important work.
So good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to start off with a little fun fact. Some of the Douglas fir lumber, which is primarily what we salvage out of Seattle homes, is over 600 years old. These trees could grow to the height of half the Space Needle and be 10 feet wide at their base. And we don't have too many trees like that left anymore. So in order to protect this beautiful wood, and that's why I'm here and why Jim Barger, the founder of our company, is here, is we just think this is beautiful wood that should not be wasted, and we'll never have it again if we don't protect it now. I'd also like to thank the 3 of you for being here. It means a lot to us to have your support, and the funding is something we've never seen before of this magnitude, and it will have a huge impact. So moving away from demolition, it's a hard thing to do because it's so easy and inexpensive. And moving towards deconstruction has taken a lot of work to get to this point. And I feel like we're about to take a huge leap forward. Demolition can be done with an operator, an excavator, and 1 person on the ground in a day or 2. And the whole goal is to smash up the house as small as you can to fit it into as few dumpsters as possible. With deconstruction, it can take 2 to 3 weeks with a 5-man crew or 5-person crew, excuse me. And that's not the end of it. That's where the work begins. Then we have to bring the lumber back to a warehouse. We have to take the metal hardware off of it, trim it up, store it, organize it. And then at that point, you're looking at that stage that we're at right now is, now what do we do with it? Do we put it back into new construction, which we've put into over 50, supplied lumber packs for over 50 new construction projects in the Seattle area ourselves. I personally have a vision where a lot of this beautiful lumber should go into higher use, like flooring or wall cladding or furniture. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. At this money and the support of especially Katie Kennedy and Corrine of SPU, they are by far our biggest supporters, and they are making a huge difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And we're going to walk around and tour a little bit and just sort of look at this beauty around us. But if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to take any questions. I'll give you a few seconds to... Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a very labor-intensive work, as you described, Ben. So what else are you going to do as a city to help support the market? Are you giving any sort of density bonuses to buildings that would incorporate salvage wood or provide salvage wood?
Great question. So I'll let Andrew handle it, and I will tell you that I am sure and Andrew, come a little closer. I want to comment on what Ben said. I don't know if you all sensed it, but I sense his passion for this industry. It's not even what he said, it's just how he said it. And I'm sure some of our greatest ideas will come from Ben and those associated with Ben. I just wanted to throw that out there. And now you're going to have a more substantive answer from Andrew.
Yeah. Right now, we're providing two different incentives. One is a $4,000 incentive to contractors who are owners who are choosing to go the deconstruction pathway. And that helps to, ideally help them to offset some of the additional costs. The other incentive we're providing on the cost side is a $2,000 incentive when they're bringing on workers who need to be trained in this skill set. And so it's, again, helping to incentivize job training and job growth. The third incentive is meant to counter the time aspect of it. It takes another potentially 2-3 weeks, as Ben mentioned. And so from a time aspect, we're providing kind of expedited permitting timeframe for some electrical permits, and that's enabling the contractors to shave off about 2 weeks of time. And so those two things are the way that we're trying to incentivize this work right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Do you have any numbers as to cost of, say, deconstruction versus demolition, just for a point of comparison?
Yeah. Ben, I think you're probably the best person to respond to that. Yeah.
Depends on, we do a lot, something called hybrid deconstruction, which is not ideal. Basically, we use a machine to assist us to take down a house. So rather than the 2 to 3 weeks, we can do it in a week and a half. And that's all about economics. It's what people are willing to pay for our services. But we're still able to get in there and salvage a tremendous amount of material. So for hybrid deconstruction, we're probably about 30% more. And the grant funds have made a huge difference of bridging the gap, especially on smaller structures. But at hand deconstruction, which is where I'd like to get to, I think the lumber warehouse will have a huge impact of bringing down the total cost of a hand deconstruction, and it will lessen the burden. Right now I'm having to wear 3 or 4 hats. I'm a deconstruction guy competing against demolition companies, and they're cheaper and quicker. And then we got to take the material and process it, and then we got to store it and then try to market for sell it. So the lumber warehouse will allow us to focus, if we want to, just on deconstruction. And then on the back end, it'll allow the city to incentivize deconstruction more, because now there'll be the infrastructure to support deconstruction. So the cost will come down, but I would say deconstruction by hand is double the price of demolition at this point.
What is the price of demolition versus deconstruction? Is it $10,000?
A typical house in Seattle might be like $12,000 to $15,000 to demo, and that might be like a 1,200, 1,500 square foot house. We're in the low $20,000 to do a hybrid, and you'd be up in the high 20s to probably do it by hand.
Hybrid versus hand, what you gotta just...
Yeah, no, I'd love to talk about it.
They have you excited now, huh?
Yeah. every house is different, right? And sometimes, you know, we use a excavator to take the roof off, so then we can go after what's easy. But the main thing is the floor joists, the ceiling joists, and the old houses all have shiplap. They didn't have plywood. And we have a market for those materials, and so that's what we focus our time and efforts on.
Well, thank you. Everyone have a great day. But this is an exciting industry, as you could see. And the innovation that the city's known for, you're seeing it in action here. We can't thank your leadership and what you're doing with the EPA to partner with us. So everyone have a great day. Thank you very much for being here.